Hi there, I'm Peter Millard, and in this week's 10-minute workshop, well, we have a play with a fan in a can. It's coming up next. So yeah, I bought a fan in a can. It's the one that my YouTube pal Keith Brown over at Rag and Bone Brown did an excellent review on. It's the Thor Filtration TF470. It's particularly attractive to guys like us with small workshops because it's one of the few, in fact it's pretty much the only one as far as I'm aware, that is compact enough to fit within the ceiling space. It's about 10 inches round and 10 inches tall, 250mm in each dimension. It still weighs about 4 kilos, but that's about a fifth of the volume and a third of the weight of most of the others. The others have much more capacity, you know, the ones, Record and Rutlands, and there's a Jet do one as well. This one isn't particularly cheap, but it's, you know, it does the job. It's a great little fan. Go and look at Keith Brown's review of it. There's a link down in the description because it's excellent. It's got charts and everything. The fan itself works really well. I didn't have the best of buying experiences. You know, I've recorded this segment a few times, and every time it comes across as me sort of whining about it. So I'm doing it again. I'm not going to concentrate on that. The description on the website is incorrect for this one. I had a quick look this morning, and it's still incorrect. I bought this over a month ago, and they still haven't put that right. The guys I bought it from weren't terribly interested in rectifying the problem. It turns out that they only make 2 of these now. They used to make one with like a physical sort of remote. They don't do that anymore. They only make one with the sort of a built-in remote that you need to use a phone app with, or they do one without the remote completely. Now I know Keith Brown had a few problems with the remote app in that it needed to reconnect a few times, and the way to reconnect it, to pair it, you've got to push a button, which means clambering around in your ceiling somewhere to get at the thing. So I didn't really want the app-based one. So it turns out I had the best, the most appropriate one for me after all. So I decided to keep it rather than pursue any differences, but it's left a bit of a sour taste. There's a litany of little penny pinching, nickel and diming things from this whole purchase. It's a couple of £100, not the biggest thing I've ever bought, not by a long stretch, but at the same time it's a very unsatisfactory way of spending a couple of £100 for me. I spent a couple of £100 with other people about the same week that I bought this, and the experience with them, this is from private sellers on eBay, was faultless. You know, confirmation of payment, shipping notification, invoices, delivery date with a timed slot or AM, PM, and I didn't get any of that when I bought this. I'm still haven't got an invoice for it. I've had 3 delivery notes, but no invoice yet. Anyway, I've got the fan in a can, and after a bit of, you know, manful struggling, it comes with chains. I have to shorten those because they're very long. I've got it fixed into the ceiling here. The ceiling's very tough. If you remember when I was fitting my lights, I decided to glue them in rather than screw them. Well, this weighs just over 4 kilos. So I needed to get a good fixing in that. So I got the SDS drill out to get a blat a couple of holes in the ceiling. So that's all done. The next bit of penny pinching, nickel and diming I found is it comes with a 2-meter mains cable for something that's meant to be stuck in your ceiling. I know it's for small workshops, but unless it's a Hobbit workshop, 2 meters ain't going to cover it, go from the ceiling to a socket. So I got myself on Amazon, bought a 5-meter mains lead. It's a standard sort of kettle type lead. Got a 5-meter one of those for £6 or £7. And now what have I got? Well, I've got a fan in a can that I can switch on and off at the wall. That's not really what I want. What I want is some kind of remote, ideally some kind of timer. So while I was at Amazon, I picked up a couple of Wi-Fi remote sockets. We've got a few of these dotted around the house, and the one I'd recommend is the TP-Link Kasa with a K. It's TP-Link HS100. It's a bit more expensive than the cheap and cheerful ones. You can get these for about £6 or £7. a tenner thereabouts. This particular one's about 25, 28, something like that. And the reason I went for this one is because it actually has a timer function built into it. A lot of them say they do a timer, but in fact what they mean is you can schedule them, so you can have it come on at 6 o'clock in the evening and go off at 6:30 if that's what you want. That's great if you work till 6 every day. But what I want to do is switch it on and then have it go off after 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever else. Anyway, you download the TP-Link app and you have to set up an account with them, put your tinfoil hat on. If this bothers you, obviously don't do it. But with the app involved, you can absolutely switch it on and off from your phone. Yeah, it's not as quiet as you might think either. But critically, with the TP-Link Casa app, you actually have a timer built into it as well. So it says turn my smart plug off after 30 minutes, so I can switch the fan on. In fact, tell you what, let me switch it off and I'll set this to 1 minute. So I can switch the fan on and set the timer to go off after 1 minute. There we are. Now, if you don't need that sort of timer function, then one of the cheaper ones will do perfectly well. You could switch the thing on, and then because it's part of the cloud smart home stuff, you could get one of the cheaper ones, switch it on while you're here, and then set yourself a reminder to switch it off in half an hour. I'd rather have it on a timer personally, but that's me. The other thing you can do, of course, again, that gets us back to sort of square one, where we've got a fan in a can that's controlled by a remote via an app on your phone. Or at least if you do need to reconnect it or repair it, the socket thing is right over there. You can reach that easily. But the other thing you can do, of course, because it's all part of the cloud, is connect it to smart devices. And while I was at Amazon picking up a mains cable and the Wi-Fi plug, I bought a spare Echo Dot. We have a few of these dotted around the house, and they actually work very well. Again, you have to download the TP-Link skill for the lady in a can, but once you've done that, you can actually set it off just by saying, turn on the fan.
Okay.
And there you go. And then once it's on, of course, you can switch it off via the timer, via the wall, any old way, or you can turn off the fan. So there we are, smart home, smart workshop. That's how I've got mine up and running. It's cost me a bit more money than I would want to, certainly with the little Echo Dot. You can get these as a refurb for about 25 quid these days. It's amazingly good value. I think I paid about 35 for this on special. So yeah, I mean, a longer mains lead, the Wi-Fi remote, and a lady in a can. It's probably added about 60 quid to the overall cost, on top of a 200 quid fan in a can. It pushes the price up to a point where I probably wouldn't buy it again, to be perfectly honest. I noticed Rutland's have theirs down to about 150 quid this morning. It popped up on my email. It's a physically bigger device. It has much more capacity, but it is physically much bigger, almost 3 times the weight, at close to 15 kilos, and 500 by 450 by 260 high box. So quite a big lump to fit in somewhere. But to be honest, I would probably mock a box up to see if I could fit it in on brackets on the wall or something if I didn't want to hang it off the ceiling. And I know I talk about the retail experience, the shopping experience, sounds a bit airy-fairy, all a bit wishy-washy. But in all honesty, the hassle I've had in getting this thing and getting it working how I want, has soured me against it a bit. I should be looking at it and thinking, yeah, I got clean air. Instead, I look at that and think, 200 odd quid, 240 quid, I could spend that better. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do, not for this video. In a future video, I'm going to actually make one of these. I bought some fans for another project. I've got another batch coming. And now I've got something to compare what I make to. I'm going to give it a go and see what we can come up with. But that's for a future video. That's it for this video, though. Keep an eye out for future videos on smart workshop stuff as well. Now I've got the lady in a can here. There'll be all kinds of interesting little things that we might be able to come up with. Play the Measuring Up podcast.
I could not find a program named The Measuring Cup.
That needs a bit of work, doesn't it? I'll see you next time.